What's a hack in your industry that customers aren't supposed to find out? Part 1. Former local journalist here. If you want to know something about your town, or pretty much anything locally, or find something hinky that you want investigated, just call or email them and ask, what's happening with that insert weird item in city budget, shut down road cop who got fired? When I was off deadline, I actually loved fielding these questions. They were mainly from old people, and pretty much worked as customer service for the city a lot. I directed people to local programs that would help them. I confirmed the start and proposed end dates of construction, and I told people what companies had pulled permits to build that new restaurant on Main Street. Local journalists have a wealth of knowledge in all departments of what is going on in your city because they drift between one or the other frequently, and we ask the other reporters in the cubicle next to us too. They're your tour guides, social workers, watchdogs, and public defenders if you just ask them. They aren't doing it for the money, cries in past due bills. They're doing it for the love of their community. They all really embrace the localism aesthetic. I guess this is sort of a not supposed to find out thing because if everyone did it, they'd never get their other work done. Retired journalist here. This is absolutely accurate. I loved reading this, and it has made me go, maybe writing a few articles for the local rag would be a good time. I call myself a writer, but I'm mostly just a drunk with a pen and a hard-on for Hunter S. Thompson. Orchestral violinist? Sometimes we don't play all the notes. Cellist here? We know you don't. Symphonic trombonist. Sometimes loud is better than correct. And as a tubist, I miss my entrance to play my whole note after waiting 10 minutes because I counted 180 measures instead of 181. Tuba parts are always either high stakes or could have been omitted with little in between. The terror of pictures at an exhibition versus the book reading of Dvorak 9. I worked at a restaurant, and one time the chef burned the applesauce that was supposed to be served with the pork chop. He put it on the menu as smoked applesauce, and people loved it. This works as a mom with kids, too. You mess up in the kitchen, get fancy with the dinner name, and kids will eat it. I joke that being a good baker isn't chemistry. It's not telling people what you had planned to make until it's out of the oven. It's not a flat-failed cake. It's brownies. This was 7 years ago, so may not be relevant, but when I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, the higher-ups were so tunnel-visioned on positive customer reviews that if there was any problem at all, we would write off anything from gas to whole days of rentals. We had a few repeat customers that would catch on and habitually complain about dumb shit to get parts of the bill discounted. Only a rating of completely satisfied counted, and it was tied to bonus and promotions, so a huge incentive to make people happy. Worked at the Orlando International Airport, Iraq. We did about 3,000 car returns a day during peak season. It was such a profitable location that we gave away so much. People leaving in sports cars if they have a mid-size rental, free GPSs, etc. Some guy returned a car and said, "Hey, I got a warning light to add wiper fluid, so I went and spent a few bucks and topped it off." My manager gave him $150 off his rental for the inconvenience. He wasn't even mad about having to top off the fluid, he was just letting us know. Another time we had a family with a full Disney trip booked with young kids late at night. You can tell which families are just kinda barely getting this trip pulled off and aren't really flush with cash. They asked about extending their rental before leaving, and I tried to match their daily rate, and ended up setting their weekly rate as the daily rate. They basically got another week free. They were insanely grateful, and my manager didn't bat an eye. I do miss that job. Accounting is called a sticky business because we don't lose clients often, unless we are terrible. We continually raise rates and overcharge because we know clients will just stay with the same person they know, rather than search around. It may be hard to evaluate who is a bad versus good versus great accountant, but that won't matter unless you have a difficult situation or specialized work to be done. What matters is you might find an accountant willing to do the same work for a lot cheaper, if you can just put in a little extra time to ask them to ballpark their rates. Think of it this way. People regularly go to different grocery stores, convenience stores, and gas station marts to save a few dollars on things like eggs, candy, or milk. I found eggs for $1.50 when they're normally $2.50 is some big accomplishment. What if you found an accountant willing to do your work for $3,000 instead of $5,000? Isn't that worth a few more calls and meetings that you would gladly use time on to find cheaper eggs? Just because you're on hold doesn't mean we can't hear you. Another fun one, If you're using a chat feature, we can see what you type even before you hit enter. I've seen some wild things typed then deleted. This is a socially anxious person's nightmare, thanks. Don't worry about it. We mostly use it to help us quickly answer questions and look stuff up while you're typing. Much like cashiers, we aren't judging outside of any rude remarks. When I worked in a hotel as a night porter, the room cost was totally reliant if you were a dick or not. I obviously couldn't just give rooms away, but I could pretty much knock off 50%. One day, a very tired woman came in with her baby, and I couldn't get the payment to go through at all. So I did give it to her for nothing, just had to make sure she was out before 9 a.m., and I cleaned it myself. Thank you for all the upvotes, awards, and kind words. That's very kind of you. It must depend heavily on the hotel. I once walked into a hotel late and asked how much rooms were. It was more than I wanted to pay. I went outside and looked at Priceline, booked it online for much cheaper, then walked right back inside with a reservation. Yeah, it must heavily depend on the hotel. The last time I tried to reserve a room in person, the desk clerk advised if I made a reservation on their website, it would be substantially cheaper than the walk-in rate they were authorized to book. When I worked as a pharmacy tech, I spent a lot of time calling insurance companies and waiting on hold while the world burned around me. One time I got impatient with the voice recognition bot because it kept hearing background noise and made selections impossible, so I started cursing it out. Turns out, if you say the F word a few times in a short span, the bot recognizes you as an angry customer and will switch you to a representative real quick. I did this multiple times to a lot of strange looks from my coworkers until I explained the hack. Quick edit since I'm getting a lot of the same responses. I now know that you can spam 0 or hash to get the same results. It's a feature being phased out in places. Shouting representative or operator also works. Lean into the bite. I work in pediatrics and we're retaught that if a child bites you, lean into it. Push whatever part of you they're biting further into their mouth, because their automatic reaction will be to open their mouth and the risk of them breaking your skin is greatly diminished. Source: I was just bitten at work. Edit: a word and grammar. Also, how the hell is my most upvoted comment about being bitten at work? That works for cats too. If you pull away, the teeth dig in. But if you push into their mouth, they get confused and let go. As a cat owner, that's incredibly useful information. Any Marriott booking made partially with points, with a 3-day cancellation policy, can be canceled the same day of the booking without any fees. Seeing there are many Marriott users here, if you're using a free night award, make sure you're using the closest one in value to the reservation's cost. It's awful to see 85 kpt's FNA wasted on bookings worth 25 kpt's. Kind of unethical, but all calls to Marriott hotels go to the same call centers. If you're in a hurry for any matter, just select New Reservation, and your call will be prioritized in the queue. The guys at the call centers cannot transfer you to the front desk. You'll need to go through the menu to hear the option. Even though Expedia or Booking.com or Hotels.com or others offer discounts, it's worth it to book directly from Marriott, as you'll have support via phone and you can get discounts for being a AAA member, a senior citizen over 62, or a government employee. Avoid the Marriott Vacation Club promotion. It's just timeshares, and you'll need to attend an awful presentation. If you can brighten a call center worker's day, say yes to any promotion that involves transferring at the end of the call. He'll get a reward, and you can hang up as soon as he transfers you. Sometimes teachers do just pull grades out of their ass. I only got through high school because my teachers liked me. They can give you any grade they want within reason. It never pays to be an asshole. It never pays to be an asshole. I would be pretty happy if all kids coming out of high school learned this. So in that sense, you were ahead of many of your peers. Hospital bills are negotiable, to a degree. Always ask for an itemized bill and put some effort into analyzing it. Most hospitals will take pennies on the dollar if you pay what you are offering right that moment. They will. Nearly all take payment plans too. If you are insured, know your insurance rules. Most do not allow balance billing, meaning what your EOB says is your responsibility is all you are obligated to pay, not a penny more. If the medical people keep billing higher, call your insurance company and tell them. They can and will often straighten it out for you. It's truly awful that this is even the way that it works. You get sick and you're also supposed to know insurance company policy or hospital billing tricks to avoid getting shafted. Not sure if your homeowner's insurance will cover something? Apply this one simple rule. Was the damage caused by a sudden and one-time occurrence? If the answer is yes, 99% of the time you're covered. If the answer is no, 99% of the time you're not covered. This advice applies to the US. And, might I add from my own experience, don't call the claims line at the insurance company. I was calling to see if I needed to file a claim and if I was covered, and it was considered a claim. Had 2 of those, both resulting as no payout, and was dropped by my homeowners. Call your agent, not the insurance company. Yep, 2 friends who are agents for different companies. Even if it is not a claim and just a question, that shit is in your file forever. And the insurance company will 100% follow all your social media posts for years if they think you lied to them about a claim. My friend told me about a guy who wrecked his car while racing on a track, sideswiped the wall or guardrail, which isn't covered. He told the claims it happened when he fell asleep on the highway or something similar. Several years later, believe my agent said 7 years, but don't remember exactly, he posted a picture on his Facebook page of his car at the track with the damage. They immediately sued him for all the money back. About ruined him. If you're going to lie about a claim, take that shit to the grave. Thank you so much for watching. What is a hack in your industry that customers shouldn't have known about? Share in the comments.